What's up, everybody? My name is Big Cam and welcome back to another Hot Toys 1/6 scale figure unboxing. And today we have another special Deadpool and Wolverine figure that just came in, and this is the Chris Evans Human Torch from Deadpool and Wolverine, and my first Fantastic Four figure, which I do have all four of the Fantastic Four from Fantastic Four First Steps ordered, but they're yet to come in. That will probably be what, 2027 by the time those guys arrive, unfortunately. I also have Galactus ordered as well, so I can't wait to see all those guys together. But when eventually the Johnny Storm comes in, I'll be able to put him next to another Johnny Storm for a little bit of a side-by-side comparison. But luckily, Chris Evans has also played other characters in the MCU, like Captain America. So, Cap and Human Torch will toss next to each other for a bit of a side-by-side comparison in a little bit. But just to look at this box here, Human Torch on the front, that could be figure photography. Fire elements, the Wolverine claws going through the box, spilling onto the side. MMS 789 1/6 scale collectible figure. Deadpool logo on the back. Legal information, hot toys, warnings, store locations. Nothing too much, normal stuff. Sliding off the front of this box though, my first look at this figure. Ooh, the big four in the middle of the chest. Now, some people were offended that, like, the Fantastic Four outfit wasn't the same from the Fantastic Four movie, and that it also kind of had, like, Captain America vibes in it. But I think they did that intentionally to fool us, where, like, the first time we saw him, we were like, oh shit, is this Captain America from Avengers Endgame? And he got thrown in the void? And, like, even Deadpool's like, Avengers Assemble! Thinking he's Captain America, but then he goes, flame on, and he fools us, and now he's, you know, Human Torch, which is short-lived because he was doing crazy things to the budget, and Cassandra Nova just made him into a bag of meat. That was nuts. That was crazy. But yeah, some fire effects all over this thing. I can't wait to get this figure in hand. Big fire element there. Human Torch with the Fantastic Four logo on the side. They've been doing this a lot lately too, with the Deadpool logo on the back, the Wolverine claws, and then a figure photography at the bottom there. And then it, you know, says Human Torch and his MMS and stuff like that. Little drawings from Deadpool all over the box. Yeah, of course, same old from the Deadpool lineup. But why don't we take this bad boy up out of the box and take my first in-person look. Alright, just popped off the top of this plastic tray. Instructions down bottom, make sure you guys read those so you don't mess up your figure. But just pulling this bad boy up out of the box for the first time. Woohoo! It's got plastic around the belts, plastic around either forearm, protecting the wrappings that are around either forearm. The suit looks pretty damn good. My cap eyeballs are a little not lined up correctly, but I can fix that. But the head sculpt feels pretty damn good, and like the hair looks really good. Yeah, I'm actually quite here for this head sculpt. But yeah, we'll fix the eyeballs in a moment and stuff like that too. He's got plastic around him, so yeah, we'll take off all the plastic in a moment and stuff too, just making sure he's not damaged or anything fresh out of the box. That pocket doesn't want to stay down. It is what it is. It's alright. Yeah, not a bad looking figure though. I do wish he was a little bit more of the Fantastic Four Johnny Storm from that movie, but you know, I guess he's been in the void a long time, and he you know, had to find a new pair of pants and boots, and the only thing that survived from the Fantastic Four times was his, you know, Fantastic Four top. And yeah, the rest of them just looks like modern day Chris Evans, you know? I still loved this cameo from that movie though, and just how, like, none of us were expecting it. And like, a lot of us knew Chris Evans was in it because of a report that came out earlier, but we were expecting Captain America, you know? And if we were expecting Johnny Storm, I don't know if we were expecting what happened, you know what I mean? Like, and there was tons of cameos already happening in that movie, so wild stuff. But comes with a Deadpool Wolverine Fantastic Four base with like the 4 logo, but it looks like it's like cracking and in the void and like fire. It says Human Torch on the front of it. Not bad. But of course, this comes with a flight pole instead of a crotch grabber, which it really should come with both. But the flight pole, because you got to be able to get him into flight poses as the Human Torch, which I understand. But yeah, why don't we take all of the fire elements and all the accessories that this bad boy comes with and lay them out on the desk in front of me here. And we'll take a closer look at everything that Chris Evans' Human Torch from Deadpool and Wolverine has to offer.
Alright everybody, we have the Human Torch's accessories laid out on the desk in front of us here. And starting off over on the left side, you can see it comes with a flight pole and a waist grabber, which you can use for some flight poses. If you want to maybe damage the suit, I wouldn't use that flight pole long term, but you know, just to pull off some poses, it shouldn't be that bad and shouldn't damage the suit just, you know, one time. And maybe the figure might feel sturdy enough that you might be able to get away with it and it won't damage the suit long term. But we will talk more about that figure and the base he's standing on in a moment. But you can see he comes with that little plastic element to help move his eyeballs, an array of hands that we'll look closer at in a moment. But I really want to talk about this little cape here over on the right, and we will try this on the figure in a moment, but it comes on this little cardboard sleeve. It has wires up front in this, like, you know, it's almost like a poncho, but it's also kind of like a scarf, got an armhole there, you know, so it covers them, but also kind of has these drapey, flowy parts on the front, has a hood that can go up or down, you know, some flowy parts around the back as well. But I kind of like the way that this looks on him, but I also don't want to cover up the Fantastic Four and the cool stuff. So maybe just for a pose we'll use this, but maybe not long term. He also comes with this giant fire element that does look really cool. It's clear plastic on the bottom, and it does look pretty sweet. But he's got two little spots for his feet in there, so he could just be standing straight up and down. There are poses where he has 1 foot in there and like 1 foot up on top of here, and, you know, it looks a little bit more natural of a pose. So I'm gonna try and use this thing. Hopefully I won't have to use this and the flight pole, because this is already adding some height to the figure, so he's gonna need some headroom in the display. But yeah, I'm definitely gonna have to use this, and I'm probably gonna have to toss this figure with Deadpool and Wolverine and the rest of those figures on that shelf. But also, he was short-lived in that, so I don't know. Will he stay on the Deadpool and Wolverine shelf, or will he eventually be a part of, like, the Fantastic Four shelf, or maybe, like, an Avengers Doomsday shelf? Who knows? But we'll definitely try this out in the posing section as well. He also comes with this fiery element that can go on his forearm and slots right into the wrist peg there. But yeah, pretty nice looking piece, but I don't want this to make the arm too heavy, so I'm gonna have to try this out, but maybe the arm will like droop over time, so maybe not something I'll use long term either, but still a pretty cool element and little fiery flares whipping off of the thing. Very cool. He also comes with this little fiery, like, almost crown, if you would, but it magnets over his shoulders, and this would be like where his head goes, so it looks like fire's coming off of him, kind of like the box art there. But yeah, not a bad little piece. I wish the other fire effects were more magneted, so you could, you know, place them around his body and they'll stay, and you know, have places to go that you don't need to like slide it over the material, you know. But still pretty cool. Definitely going to use something like this for the fire poses. But like I was saying, he comes with a bunch more of these fire elements that look like it maybe slides around his wrist or his arm, and some of them come in different sizes, so maybe it's like a leg or a shoulder or something. But fire elements nonetheless that should be going all over his body, and I'll have to read the instructions to see where these go. But fire effects, you know, they look all right, but nothing too special, just plastic little pieces that they made to look like fire. Now, to get into some of those hands, you can see they come with just normal unwrapped hands. So he has the wrappings on his body as he comes, and he comes with 2 relaxed hands that are wrapped on the figure, and then he comes with a couple other wrapped hands, but we'll look at those closer and the detail on those in a moment. So we got these hands here that are just normal hands, maybe like he's shaking somebody's hands, or, you know, maybe relaxed hands as if he wasn't gloved up, you know, maybe down by his side or something. A couple of, you know, grabbing hands, maybe he's reaching for somebody, or you know, maybe he's just reacted to something, kind of like Tom Holland's spider sense hands, I like to call these. A couple of normal fist hands, nothing too crazy going on there. And then, like Tom Holland's splayed out hands, these are kind of the exact same hand, but just with the wrappings on them now. And the wrappings, you can see a little bit of red, leathery material underneath there, red into the hand, but then wrappings up over the top. Wrappings that do feel kind of real, like maybe they can be peeled off, so maybe be careful with these hands. You don't want to mess up the wrappings. But yeah, definitely some detail that gets added to the hands with these. And he comes with 2 other wrapped hands that are just relaxed hands on the figure that it comes with, and then 1 pointing hand, which, I don't know, maybe he's telling people he's number 1, or he's like, Hulk, smash, you know? Like, I don't know. What I don't remember necessarily him using this pointing figure, or maybe just that one pose where he's like, they're coming, and that's like where we see him all hooded up or something. I don't know. But now, just to look at this figure in the base he comes with. The display base here says Human Torch up front. Maybe it could have said Johnny Storm or something, but still Human Torch works. You got the Fantastic Four logo in the middle there, Deadpool and Wolverine up front. Some fire elements around the sides of the base, making it look like some fiery explosions are happening. Maybe just to add to the fiery Human Torch, you know, character, but some cracks in the base as well from like just years of being in the void, I guess. And what are those, cobwebs, spider webs maybe? I don't know. But yeah, not too much going on with the base there. So let's just take a peek at that figure himself now.
Oh, right. So just starting off down by his boots, one seamless boot, but still able to get ankle articulation, you know, and everything you need out of these boots. You know, nice little ties in the front there. I don't know if I've ever actually felt the string straps there. Normally they're like just sculpted into the boot and they're faux. But yeah, that's actually a nice looking boot. Nice weathering on it. Tread underneath. But you can see the pants tucked in there nicely. And some pants that like feel like, you know, sure they pull in certain spots, but you know, they bunch up and you can move them around a little bit to get more room out of them. Maybe, yeah, even past 90 for some of his posing abilities. Love that. You know, nice little belt buckle, little pouches. And I was saying earlier in the video that these pants and like the belt buckle and even like the red and like the wrappings, I think they were trying to, you know, confuse us and be like, oh, is this Captain America? You know, it did sound like Chris Evans' voice. And then all of a sudden he's like, flame on! And it's Johnny Storm instead of friggin' Captain America, you know? So I do like the wrappings around the wrists and like how that covers up the wrist peg nicely and, you know, distracts from it. You can't take these off, they said, though. I probably won't. I think I'll rep him with the wrappings. I think it looks better. But little bunching around the arms and stuff, maybe not the biggest deal, maybe for articulation and stuff like that. But you can see like a big old chunk out of the armpit to be able to try and get these arms down flush. But then you get this like weird little notch in there. So maybe there should be some padding or something right here that my figure doesn't have, but I don't know. Still, I would rather be able to get my figures down, arms down by their side than have them like this at all times, you know what I mean? But you definitely can see where, you know, you're going to have to maybe play with the outfit a little bit and play with the arms because you don't want stuff like that or, you know, weird stuff happening like that or something, I don't know. But down by the side, still looks really good. The 4 logo on the chest, maybe a little bit of weathering because he was in the void for a long time. Not bad. Not bad at all. A little black detailing that goes around to the back. Not bad though, yeah. And then I have heard people saying that this head sculpt is pretty good, but if you're going to have a seam line in the neck, why not tuck it up behind the ear? You know, and make it look that much better, but it is what it is. From most angles, you can't see the neckline. The head sculpt looks really good, actually. Maybe the facial expression could be a little bit better, but the Chris Evans likeness is definitely there. The hair, you know, definitely feels like Chris Evans, but actually feels more like Johnny Storm and doesn't feel like this is just a Captain America ripoff, you know what I mean? As much as they were trying to fool us into thinking he's Captain America, this does remind me very much so of his Johnny Storm. But now that Cassandra Nova ripped his skin off in Deadpool and Wolverine, will he return in Avengers Doomsday or Secret Wars? I don't think so now that Chris Evans' Captain America is returning. But if this Johnny Storm died in the void fighting Cassandra Nova, where's Reed? Where's Sue? Where's Ben Grimm? You know, like,
Will Michael Chiklis's thing be returning in the future in Avengers Doomsday or Secret Wars? I don't know, but I feel like maybe not for Avengers Doomsday, but for Secret Wars, I feel like they're trying to bring back everybody. Nicolas Cage's Ghost Rider, like every single person they can possibly bring back, I think they're going to try to bring back, you know what I mean? Maybe even like Ang Lee's 2003's Hulk, you know what I mean? Like, I wouldn't mind seeing just the craziest of crazy cameos in that movie. But maybe that's just wishful thinking and getting my hopes up, you know what I mean? But there's nothing too much more to look at for this Chris Evans Human Torch figure, so why don't we toss this bad boy into some poses and see what he is capable of.
All right, everybody, we have Hot Toys Human Torch from Deadpool and Wolverine spinning around on the turntable for us here, just standing straight up and down just as he comes fresh out of the box. But I put his cloak on just to complete the look and to give you that first appearance that we saw him in. But I don't think the cloak looks too good, so then I have the Human Torch standing on his own without the cloak, with a couple of fire elements attached to the figure. And they don't necessarily tell you particular spots to put them, so you kind of are just up to your own to figure it out. But then I have the Human Torch rising up like he's flying and he's about to create maybe a fire tornado with that giant display fire element for his feet to slot into on the base. And I think in person this base looks just too good, so I have to end up using it in the final pose that I'm going to put him in, so that here we have 1 foot in the base, 1 foot kind of up like he's maybe, you know, taking off into the sky, fire elements attached to his knees, to his shoulders, to the big magnetic one around his neck and on his back. And then I have the giant fire beam element that attaches to one of his wrist pegs on his right arm. And I really wish this figure came with some more accessories, but honestly, what would he possibly come with? Maybe there's a version of this figure out there where his skin is all ripped off and he's just a pile of meat. I don't know, maybe they could have thrown in a couple of T-bone steaks or something, raw T-bone steaks, just to put on the base, like, oh, this is what he's going to become. But Chris Evans, the likeness is pretty damn good, although I think he maybe looks a little old, like especially the figure on the box. Like, he looks so much older than he is, you know, and I get it, Chris Evans is getting older, but he's still a handsome guy. You don't have to make him look like he's 80. But unfortunately, at this moment, I don't have any other Fantastic Four figures in my collection, but I can't wait to compare what this Human Torch looks like next to the Fantastic Four First Steps Human Torch with Joseph Quinn's Johnny Storm. And I think just their blue outfits are just going to pop off the shelves so much nicer than the navy blue old school Fantastic Four outfits. But that 4 on the chest and seeing Chris Evans back in Deadpool and Wolverine, I know some people think those movies are just like a huge cameo fest, which Deadpool and Wolverine is a huge cameo fest, but still doesn't make it not a great film and a great time, you know, like a little over 2 hour movie for that, I think. And all of the figures that have come out from that movie so far have been awesome. I did just get a notification the other day that my Blade will be delayed from that movie, so I think that and Nice Pool and Kid Pool are the only figures I don't have from Deadpool and Wolverine at the current moment. And I think maybe one other Wolverine variant where he was, I think it's like Age of Apocalypse Wolverine, but I don't think that figure is released yet. But speaking of all those Deadpool and Wolverine figures, why don't we go toss our boy Human Torch on the shelf and see what he's looking like over there.
Oh, right, y'all. So 100 figures unboxed on the channel, and now number 100 is placed on the shelf. And I do think that like fire base, it maybe not on camera, but in person, it looks very cool. And it's got like just so much presence and like really captures the vibe of this flaming man and like him being able to wield fire, you know what I mean? So maybe I could have gotten a little bit more aggressive with the posing, but the figure didn't seem all that capable of posing, you know, not like the Cyclops figure where he was too jacked and, you know, he was just a little clunky in certain joints areas. This figure, on the other hand, doesn't seem like it wants to stand up on its own, you know? So I have it sturdy the way it is right now, but I'm definitely not going to be touching it anytime soon, or it might fall on its own, you know, and then I'll have to change it up. But for the time being, I do like that giant fire beam on the front, you know, and coming off of that arm, and all the fire elements placed around him, 2 of them on his like knees there. Yeah, not bad look for the Human Torch there. I do have Cyclops up over his shoulder behind him with a little bit of a smoking visor as well. So who knows, maybe all these characters we'll see in Avengers Doomsday working together. Although Human Torch, I think he might be one and done, and he might have actually died there in Deadpool and Wolverine, and we might not see him again. But we will see Chris Evans' Captain America coming back for Avengers Doomsday. So what is going to happen with Doctor Doom, and why is RDJ Doctor Doom? And if you have any Doctor Doom Avengers Doomsday theories, I'd love to hear those down in the comment section below. Do you think Deadpool and Wolverine will show up in Avengers Doomsday? I'm not sure. I'm thinking maybe more Secret Wars is where we'll see all these characters. But Cyclops will 100% be in Avengers Doomsday, and he'll be in that comic book accurate suit, so that's exciting. But as far as the Human Torch Hot Toys figure, I think they could have done better, honestly. I think they did the figure at least enough justice from the movie, but I think they could have done much better. And even the Human Torch from Fantastic Four First Steps, I think they can do better as well, and hopefully they will do better, as they're still working on that figure and that one hasn't come out yet. But I still can't wait. Once that figure comes in, I will do a side-by-side comparison on the 2 Human Torches. But I don't have another Chris Evans head sculpt currently out of its box. And like the closest one I got is this helmeted head sculpt. So eventually when I get the Stealth Suit 2.0 in, that is when we'll do a side-by-side Chris Evans head sculpt and see just how good or bad this Human Torch head sculpt is. But for the time being, this is what my Deadpool and Wolverine shelf is looking like. I'm really liking that. Maybe I could fit another figure or 2 there, or maybe find a different spot for Human Torch. But I'm liking this so far. So this is what we got, and I'd love to hear your thoughts down in the comment section below on anything we talked about today, Avengers Doomsday. What were your thoughts on Deadpool and Wolverine? What is your thoughts on RDJ being Doctor Doom? You know, that's still crazy. I can't really wrap my head around that. But we're closing in now, what, less than 10 months, 9 months out from Avengers Doomsday? Can't wait, baby. And if any Marvel fans out there, there will be Daredevil Born Again Season 2 breakdowns coming out on the channel soon. And this is figure 100, so the 100 figure collection tour video will be coming next week. So anybody excited for that? Please share what you would like to see down in the comment section below, and who you would want to see unboxed next. And make sure you guys hit that bell so you don't miss the upcoming future videos and Hot Toys figure unboxings every weekend. But I'd love to hear, who would you like to see unboxed next on the channel? And do you want maybe some Daredevil characters for Daredevil Born Again Season 2? Maybe I can make that happen for y'all, and I hope you guys stick around and watch those breakdown videos, and I hope you guys enjoyed the show. But that's it from me, y'all, and I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you've made it this far into the video and you would like to support the channel, the best way of doing that is dropping a like on this video, commenting down in the comment section below, subscribing if you haven't already, and hitting that bell so you'll get the notifications when future videos drop. Once again, my name's Big Cam, and I'll see you gorgeous folks in the next video. Peace.